Morning, or yeah, I guess probably everybody's morning. We're gonna wait a couple minutes to give some more people to time to join, but we'll get started here in just a couple minutes. All right, guys, I think we'll get one more minute, and then we'll get started here.
We should have the Jeopardy music. That would be perfect for 1 minute.
Good. We should.
And no, I'm not going to attempt to sing it, but somebody else can. They want to.
That's all you, Lael. Go ahead.
Ooh, I am not a singer, but I'll think about it in my head. All right, I think we're almost. We have a couple people who had just joined. Okay, I think we'll get started here. So, welcome, everyone to, the HPE Aruba Central webinar. My name is Lael Wilson. I'm one of the Inside Channel account managers, as well as we have Austin Seiler is also an Inside Channel account manager, and then one of our systems engineers, Kyle, who will be presenting as well. And I think we have most of all the other ICAMs from the Central region on the call, so you'll probably recognize some of their faces or names. But we really appreciate everyone taking the time out of their day to join us. We know that you're going to get a lot out of today, so really thank you so much for joining. A couple housekeeping items. Everyone is muted, so we'll have a Q&A section, so feel free to submit any questions along the way, and we'll answer those questions at the end. So today we are going to be covering some key features of Aruba Central, some licensing options, how to quote in Iris, and how to get a trial license. And then we'll save some time at the end for that Q&A. So just put your questions in the chat, and we'll address those at the end. Kyle, if you want to go to the next slide. Thanks. So we really just wanted to give just a very quick reminder of what Aruba Central is. So Central is our experience-driven cloud management solution for branch, wired, and wireless infrastructures. It enables customers to manage everything they need from edge to cloud from one single platform and one cloud native interface. And it really is a phenomenal tool for management and monitoring. And with all the improvements that we've been making with our AI capabilities and machine learning, it is really making the time to resolve issues super minute, especially compared to what they used to be. So this is what that slide kind of shows. We wanted to give a quick, very just an overview, quick reminder of what Aruba Central is. So I will hand it over to Kyle, and he will cover some of those key features for us.
All right. Thanks, Leah. We're going to focus a lot on AI today. And I know another acronym and a very overused acronym, in my opinion. It's almost like we say AI for everything these days, but I want to drill down into it as it pertains to Central. And as Lael indicated with this slide, we're talking about Central. There is a lot that we manage, and there is a lot of visibility that we derive from that. And in the back end, we're going to leverage AI heavily because it tunes, it focuses, it enhances that visibility. It really is, if you think about it, an expert on your team because it's been trained to know what to look for, what's relevant, what to bring to your attention. And this is all about getting more from less, if you think about it. So a single pane of glass to manage everything. And when you have the AI behind the scenes like that helping you out, it's another overused term, but it is a force multiplier. That's what we're going to focus on today, is the AI side of this. Some other features of Aruba Central to talk about, just wanted to point out, bring to your attention. The simplified provisioning and onboarding it's something that I actually probably don't bring up enough even in my demos, but there is a playbook functionality feature set. You can define workflows for onboarding. You can assign rights and privileges to mobile operators. And it's very interesting the way that you can send them links to their mobile device, and they can download this app. And there's more and more functionality coming from this all the time, but it allows them to scan the device in, get it up online into Central quickly and easily. That's all built into Central. These automated centralized workflows. There's a lot that Central can do. I tell everyone on my demonstrations of the product that this is an enterprise management tool. And I actually put a lot in that word enterprise, meaning if someone says that there are certain definitions, standards it has to live up to. But if we think about enterprises and I know there's all kinds of different sizes and shapes of enterprises and different businesses, of course. But when we think about what enterprise are typically comprised of, especially in the realm of IT and management and support, it's teams. It's not usually just one person, although, man, I've been there myself. I've been that one person. But typically it's teams. And if we think about, well, what are teams comprised of? Obviously people. And what do people have? Well, nothing if not differences, different skill sets, different aptitudes, different experience levels. So automated centralized workflows, what we're doing at that is you have a tool with Aruba Central that enables a wide variety, a wide array of skill sets, and allows them to do many things that maybe they wouldn't be capable of. So an example, of course, a GUI, can't really see it, I know, in this picture so well, but there is a heap ton of CLI going on in the background that you would never know. There's a lot of driven centralized workflows like it says here that you can leverage. And Central was designed to be integratable, so and integrated into other systems. And we would look at the webhooks and the APIs, that's wide open. It really is. There are very few limits as to what you can do if you have the proclivity, if you can actually do that, which, full disclosure, I keep telling myself I need to get better at programming. I'm not very good at it. Do a lot of other things, just not that very well. But the people who can, you can script everything in Central, spin up new sites, bring on new devices, build custom dashboards, and integrate it with other systems. So something like a ConnectWise or Service Desk Now, or really anything. But the end-to-end automation and orchestration. Okay. Sorry for the animations on the slides. I'll just click through those. I don't need the dramatic effect here. I just want to show you the material. So AI ops in Aruba Central are in what we call everything. And really what this brings home to you. So just a little bit about my background. I've been at Aruba for 3 years now. Right before I came to Aruba, I worked for an MSP for 11 years. We managed over 200 different clients, and just because where I'm located in Texas, it was, I'm not kidding, everything from feedlots to pet groomers to education, to hospitals, doctors, lawyers, accountants, you name it, wide variety of different infrastructures that I supported. And what I always lacked was Aruba Central. We didn't use it. I never had a tool like this to bring everything together, because when it comes down to this, when you're on the front lines, so to speak, and you're supporting a production environment, and there are problems, excuse me, problems can be anything from performance, some kind of lag, to down systems, of course. But what we need is visibility. You know, I need to have elevation so I can survey the battlefield, and I need that information quickly. For me to have visibility, if I have siloed management, my hands are already tied. And if you don't have systems with AI, now it's even worse, because maybe the information is there, but you have to tell the system what you want to see. And oftentimes that's really challenging. It's like, well, I don't really know what the problem is, so how can I tell you what I want to see? It's not that easy. So enter Aruba Central with AI that we have, and looking at things like AI search, network insights, AI assist, client insights, application insights. And what does that mean for you? The AI search is a bar at the top of Central, and it uses natural language processing for it is anything. So this can be you asking it how to do something. You can, if you know a username, if you know part of a MAC address, if you know an IP address, anything like that, you can enter it in the AI search, and it will give you the list, the proper results. It can be really interesting if you know that, hey, I know user K Levy is reporting problems. Well, I could do the search for that. And everywhere that I am, if it's my client, certain devices, it will render that into view, and it's interactive. Not to mention the knowledge base articles, or even parts of Aruba Central. You might not know where to go, and you can enter that information that will tell you, hey, click here. The network insights, and this is really where we start driving home what I mentioned about the visibility, giving me not just data, but as I said when I started, the focused, relevant data. So the network insights, and this is, it's really interesting the way when we talk about AI, anyone that has experience with it will tell you it's a very tricky business, because it requires a very large data set, and it also needs to be constantly refreshed. And then of course, you have to know how to train it, so to speak. So you've got to have the data scientists and the machine learning, all that behind it, to render all that relevant, accurate, and actionable. And with Aruba and HPE, we actually have one of the broadest and deepest data lakes. And if you think about the millions of devices that are in the central cloud, and it's able to take data from all of those sources, and then it gives you the, like it says, the proactive network anomaly detection and optimization. We'll go further into that. The AI assist, this is a big one as well. You can have it auto generate TAC tickets for you and pull things like packet captures, logs, things like that, and already add it to the ticket for you. The client insights is another large part of this. Everything in Aruba Central gets profiled, which is interesting. And another, I think about whose line is it anyway when they did the Wayne Brady and who's the other one, and they were the infomercial host. It's like, wait, and another thing, if you act now, there's more. But really, when we talk about profiling and all of this in Aruba Central, one factor that I enjoyed most was in my previous experience, if someone had showed me all this kind of stuff, I'd be thinking, okay, all right, that sounds great, but how much work do I have to do to get all of this? Because a lot of the systems I used in the past they may have been in potential capable of this if I was willing to put in all the work to make it happen. And the beautiful thing about Central is that this is all done for you. So what I mean is if you start using Aruba Central for anything, maybe just wireless, maybe just wired, maybe the both, maybe SD-WAN, maybe all three together, okay, this is all done for you. So it's not a system that it's up to you to build it and then it might work. This is done. So that profiling, hey, well, what do I have to do to profile clients? It's like, you just use Aruba Central. One and done. It's very nice. And application insights. We know what users are doing and can show you that. What it all comes down to, especially when it comes to the network insights and the AI assist, is it's faster mean time to resolution. I'm sorry. I have little patience for acronyms, and I know most people on this call know what that is, but I'm not going to go, oh, faster MTTR. Anyway, mean time to resolution. You're going to solve problems faster. We all know why that's important for efficiency, but honestly, if we are in the business of supporting users who produce a product, whatever they're doing, maybe they're in sales, maybe there's an assembly line, okay, all right. If they're having problems, we assume that their output is impacted, right? So we want to get them back to complete efficiency functionality as quickly as possible. If you report tickets, this can actually show you problems before they're reported, so you can solve them. This is expounding a little bit on what I said, that full stack visibility. Okay, eliminating silos. What does that mean? It means you only have to go one place, Central, to see all of this. You don't need to log into a different system for your wireless, for your wired. It's all in Central. And because of that, it's learning your network. And with all that data there, it can actually take everything it's learned from the data lake and apply that to your network. The rest of this I've sat through webinars with Hewlett Packard. There is an amazing amount of work that goes on in the back end to make it work. And that's what it's trying to tell you here, although really there's, it's a deep science. It really is. But the multidimensional AI ML models, that sounds cool. Sounds like it's from Star Trek, actually. Intelligent automation. Yeah, that's talked a little bit about the onboarding, but the business intent-based workflows. Okay, there's a lot that we can do here. That's also that force multiplier that I talked about. There is an underlay and overlay, the two different wizards in Central, which can build that for you, including the BGP configuration that goes into it. And it can even do the VSX stacking that's required for it. It can do all of that in wizard form for you. It's incredibly powerful. That's a force multiplier even for me, because while I know how to do all that stuff, how long would it take me if I had to do it manually? So an example of that. All right, a little bit more about this AI-powered automation and what we can do. The RF management automated. This is something that Aruba's been doing for a long time, but I admit this is a par for the course type feature now. not the way we do it. We still do it better than anyone, in my opinion. Okay, so full disclosure, that's my opinion. But this is something that people have come to expect from their wireless. But no one has our pedigree and in our data set, is what I'm saying for that. But it's actually going to handle that for you in the background. This one is interesting, this client connectivity, because there are insights around, and I like this example because I've had this one drum me before, bad, where especially after a wireless refresh, and bear in mind, when a customer spends money on something, it is always a lot of money to them. I don't care what the price actually was. It's always a lot of money to them, and especially with a wireless refresh. And let's just assume that switching was done also, right? This was done right. You can have clients that actually, even though 5 gig is available and you've got new APs, right? AX and everything, okay. And the clients are capable of 5 gig, they hang out on 2.4. And what happens there is, of course, the users are reporting all kinds of, well, snide comments like, I don't know what you think you did, but I'm here to tell you that wireless is just as slow as it ever was. And you can look, this will actually point it right out to you. And it's very plain. Hey, you have these clients that are 5 gig capable that are still on 2.4. Looking for anomalies like that. Some of these other optimized Wi-Fi networks, okay, there's a lot that we can do to resolve issues. Everything from can't talk to the DHCP server, slow DHCP response times, slow DNS response times. It can actually show you coverage holes. It can optimize the transmit power. There's a lot that we can do here. The risk of non-compliance, this is true. AI-powered firmware recommendations, that's interesting as well. There's machine learning in the background, and it looks at things such as like adoption rate. What did that look like? What was the reversion rate? How many people actually went to a version and then quickly got off it? Those are just 2 that I know of. There's all kinds of variables that they consider to give you a recommendation on that. Yeah, AP power saving. This one is interesting. There's a lot that with the AI that it can do to actually reduce the power on an AP, which this is very important at scale, right? I mean, the more that you have, but analyzing the usage, knowing times of days, patterns, right? Tracking all of that, knowing when it can actually take an AP and turn the power down. So maybe it's not operating with a high degree of performance, but no one notices. It's all of this done in the background, and really nothing you do to set it up. The client insights, just we've talked about this, but the accuracy, but this is what you're gaining with, again, that data lake, the maturity of it, the richness of it, and the Hewlett-Packard data scientists. Over 200 million endpoints, so this is visibility into, okay, well, what's on my network, right? Even how is it being used, that's a part of this. And you can, if you want to go further down this path, you can actually have policy that is related to this. So in other words, taking this into consideration for rights and access, for example. And we'll get to this, but included with central licenses. I mean, this is the foundation license actually gives you this functionality. All right, and since I said the L word, talking about licenses here, because again, and I always put myself in your position, so to speak, and as I hear myself talk about all this stuff, and hopefully wax poetically about it, okay, all right, that sounds great, but what's the catch? Or especially if I have experience with one of our chief competitors, like, all right, well, the devil's in the licensing, right? Okay, let's see, let's have it. Central licensing is actually, it is simple. I freely admit that simple licensing is somewhat of an oxymoron, but it is. And we'll talk about that. One big advantage, and I'm proud of Aruba for doing this. One big advantage to using Central is that any device that has a Central subscription, license subscription, and is managed by Central has tax support, period. So you don't need to actually, well, pay for it. Number one, Aruba uses foundational care. That's roughly equivalent to SmartNet, if you've ever heard of that one. But getting the enhanced tax support, the SLAs behind all of that, and RMAs, things like that. The tax support is actually included with Central licenses. And it can be the case where it's actually less costly to use Central than to not use it and just add the foundational care that you would need for the tax support. It is simple, and it is flexible in terms of there are 2 levels that I will show you, which that's simple. Many different terms, 1, 3, 5. I believe there's even a 7 and a 10-year term for it. And of course, the financing options to maximize budgets. But if we're looking at this, like, okay, I told you that there are 2 different licenses. So let's say, okay, for today, all right, that you have an access point, 10 access points, it doesn't matter. Of course, Central's very scalable, but, and a switch. All right, well, what would I need for an access point and a switch? And I want to manage those with Central. Okay. The access point itself, and this is another example of it being simple, is that any one of our enterprise grade access points. So if you know anything about them, we have quite a wide number to choose from in both the indoor and outdoor space. There's one SKU for all of them. If it's an access point, there's just one Central SKU for it. And then your only choice is, okay, well, foundation or advanced. I will tell you that right now, the vast majority of builds that I create, quotes that I generate for folks, is Central Foundation, because foundation really includes, I don't know if there's a number, but it's probably 95% of all the functionality it is included with foundation. And again, it's kind of true to Aruba's heritage. Aruba really, like no one else, maximizes the value and the benefit, whether it's supporting products for a very long time or trying to give you as much as possible. So most everyone gets all the benefit that they need out of Central with just that one license. There is an advanced license, which we'll talk about. This is just giving you the brief Cliff Notes version. Really, when people ask me like, well, okay, how do I know when I need advanced? I'll show you what it contains. There are just a few, well, I'll just tell you right now, people that are using wireless for voice over IP, and they want really deep visibility into that and reporting around it, things like that. So UCC, Unified Communications, anyway, that's one feature of advanced licensing. The biggest one to me is, you may remember that earlier I talked about using scripting for everything. If you are one of those people who is gifted, right, and that's your business model, that's what you do, advanced will actually benefit you because it increases the number of API calls that you can place against the system. But one single license per device. So in my example, it's like, okay, well, you've got a switch and an access point. Well, you would need 2 licenses, but a switch license is different than an access point license. The rest of we talked about the support. Yep, here are all the options. And now I'll expand a little bit about, okay, well, when we've got foundation, so the onboarding, the workflow that I talked to you about, the AI, I mean, pretty much everything that most people need is here. And then if you look at this slide, well, what does the advanced add? Advanced support, like, okay, some of this is live chat, and that's true, okay. and some of that proactive tag notifications. Okay, so if you need that enhanced experience, it does give you that. Here I talked about the unified calling and communications, visibility and reporting. Some more AI and analytics that you get. So some of those, like if you want to know, for example, if it's going to assess your switching infrastructure, especially PoE as it relates to access points. It can, with the advanced license, look and say, okay, well, you have a preponderance of access points that will be taken offline if a single switch takes a hit just because of power. And it can actually show you how you could spread those out to where you would minimize such a disruption. An example of an AI insight that you would get with this license, but you wouldn't get here. And I'm going to drill down into this even a bit more. So looking at the next slide, this one I kind of like because it gives you some more concrete examples. But this is what I'm talking about with foundation. I mean, this is, again, that this is the majority of what I recommend to people. So this fits most business needs that I see. But this is a great, so okay, advanced AI insights, transmission power, coverage holes, outdoor impacts, live upgrades. Man, that's one I'm glad that was here on this slide. Live upgrades is neat. With AOS 10, with an advanced license, it can actually upgrade your access points during normal business hours, because it can actually direct traffic, move traffic, but definitely know which access points represent a minimal disruption when they're upgraded. And it can actually synchronize and orchestrate that for you. The streaming APIs talked about, but this is really what you're looking at. So when people ask, well, okay, when do I need, this is an AP advanced license, but when I need that? There, to me, are some pretty clear indicators here when this would be needed. Otherwise, foundation, I mean, you're really lacking nothing for normal business operations with that. And the next one, switch. It's 100% right now. I only use switch foundation licenses. This is everything. The advanced license, however, like, well, when would I need that? Well, that fabric wizard that I mentioned, the overlay, the underlay, the BGP, all that cool stuff, VSX stacking. Okay, if you needed that, well, that's an advanced license feature. And I think we can agree that even when I say that, and I think that it sounds really cool, like, okay, how many? There's a time and a place for that, but how many people actually need it? Which, again, I love the value add here, because everything that most of our opportunities need is here. But I like the fact that, okay, there is an expanded feature set if you need it. So that's hopefully more that some things maybe you didn't know about Central. Maybe I gave you some more information that's actionable here. But now we've actually, the next slide is just the question slide here. So Lael and Austin, I guess
yeah,
it's time for questions.
Yeah, we don't have any questions yet, but we'll get rid
Good.
of
Okay.
Yeah, I guess you covered everything there.
Yeah.
So,
Far from it, man, but yeah.
So we'll give everyone a couple minutes. If anybody has questions, feel free to write them in the chat or the Q&A. Okay, we've got a question here. Kyle, can you see that?
Let me. And did you want me, before I do that, you want me to advance to the next slide, Austin? That's the organization slide, or wait?
We can stay here. This is fine.
Okay.
Looks like we got a question from Bill. I can read it to you, Kyle.
Okay.
Will there be an ability to back up switch configs automatically?
That, yes. So it's a yes and no today. And it sounds like Bill knows exactly what I'm talking about, where the configs are backed up right now just by virtue of we set our configs at the group level, right? So it's always there and it's always backed up. But the question is, and something that isn't there today that I would like to see is like, okay, that's great, but I'm saying that I've got my config at the group level. I want to snapshot that, whatever you want to call it, and then I make my changes so that I've got that configuration backed up. That is enhanced, but it's coming in later versions of Central. So I don't have that today, but I will say with today's version of Aruba Central, with scripting, you can do that right now. But that is very much not in line with what I've said about Central that I like about it, that Central is a mature, complete system. I don't have to do anything to get this stuff working. That's different. That's actually, so that would be, if you knew scripting, like, yeah, there's nothing stopping you from writing scripts to back up configs right now. But making it the easy button, so to speak, with Central, that's a future versions, which is one of those things I can't tell you which version or when that will be. It's just on the roadmap. It's a good question though, Bill.
Speaking of the roadmap, Jason's asking here, when will the new Central UI come out? Do you have any new insights on that, Kyle?
No, it was targeted for, and this is loose, okay, because so what he's talking about is CNX or Central Next Generation, what we're calling it, and it's not just a UI refresh, although it is. It's a UI not even a refresh because it's completely different, but it's also a lot of back end. It's a new. They're re-architecting and redoing a lot about Central. It was loosely scheduled for Q4 of this year, but nobody really knows. So maybe as soon as Q4 is my answer, but that kind of stuff as they're testing and developing things, I think everybody in this call understands. I mean, that's going to slide, that's going to adjust as they run into, I don't know, difficulties or whatever they're trying to do. But Q4 this year would be the soonest that you could see that, although that's, to be determined.
Yeah, and Jason, as soon as we get updates on when the new Central is going to be coming out, we'll be sure to let you know. And then Ollie's asking if we configured a network using CLI and need to move the network to Aruba Central, what is needed to maintain the same configs?
Solid understanding of Central and design practices. So, and it's good, and thank you for bringing that up, Ollie, I believe it was, because I've been on calls with folks that maybe didn't do enough homework, and what we're talking about is you have a brownfield deployment, right? So these switches are they're in existence and they're already configured, and now you want to bring them into Aruba Central instead of greenfield, be the opposite. If you're not careful and you just actually take those switches and bring them into Central, you'll wipe everything. Gone. Because Aruba Central is the new management plane. So when you tell a switch, upgrade the firmware, and tell a switch that, okay, hey, you use Aruba Central now, it'll say, great. And it'll check into Central and say, hey, I'm just here. What are my marching orders? Give me my config. And if you're not careful, then you haven't provided a config for it. It'll say, here's your config. It's blank. And that's it. It overrode everything. So right now, the way that works, different ways, it's at the end of the day, it's a manual approach, at least the way I do it. Meaning, and there are ways, so if it's a CX switch, okay, I could take the config and I can go into multi-edit and I can paste it, and I'm pretty well done. I mean, it could be that easy, just a copy and paste. Or it might be a great time to actually look at that config. I know we're all guilty of this, but configs actually, they accrue over time, and there's bloat, and there's parts of them that, especially with routers, man, but with switches even, arguments that are there that maybe don't need to be there anymore. This is a great time to actually look at that and only bring over what you need. But I hope that helps answer that question.
Awesome. Thanks, Kyle. And this is an important question I'm glad Jason asked, because I know we have a lot of MSPs on the call today. Will there be a centralized console, say for an MSP, that would have delegated access from individual client accounts?
So the answer, and that's another feature that has been asked for that is coming. Right now, the MSP mode that exists is a networking as a service only model. And it all comes down to subscription and hardware ownership. So what I'm saying is that if for you to use MSP mode, it's great. You have to actually own all of the hardware and the licensing for it. And then you can have tenants and you can divvy it out as needed, right? What is coming is the ability for you to still be in MSP mode. The opposite, I'm sorry, was standard enterprise mode, where your customers actually own the hardware and software and licensing, and then you kind of manage it for them. That's standard enterprise mode. What's coming is an MSP mode that can blend both. So if you're an MSP and you get a new customer, great, and they're already using Aruba and Central and everything, well, you can actually bring them under your fold now. Well, I mean, when this feature arrives. It's always, I'm very hesitant to talk about when this stuff is going to arise, because it can change. And there is no, that is coming, should be coming sooner rather than later, but that's all I can say. That's all I'm comfortable saying, because as soon as I tell you that, oh, that's going to be here on July 6th, well, okay. July 6th comes and it's still not here because whatever happened, right? So, but that's a good one. That's a change that I'm really looking forward to, by the way. That's going to be a big one.
Okay. Tim asks, does Central support third-party hardware?
Nope.
Okay. And then the next question, Jason, we worked with older model switches, and when they were stacked, we could no longer make VLAN changes except through CLI. Is this something that is resolved with newer model switches when stacked?
I would say absolutely. But to be fair, I would need a lot more detail around that. But yeah, when they're stacked, no, you don't have to make changes to VLAN. It sounds like a bug, and I would be wondering with those switches if we were to follow the release track, if that weren't addressed in later versions, or maybe these are just old enough to where that was a thing. But no, that's not the case now, especially with CX switching, which is what I would recommend you use.
Right. So Jason just said they had the 2930F with stacking cables.
Okay. Yeah. Older, but not too old. But yeah, I would definitely think that's probably something. I don't know if that was a bug, but I would expect that was addressed in newer releases. If not, okay. But again, CX is my recommendation.
Okay, I think that is all we have.
I think there's
Hey,
some questions
Austin.
in the chat as well.
There's some questions in the chat. Awesome.
Oh, there are. Okay. I was just looking at the Q&A. Will Aruba Central support mode at CLI be going away?
So are you talking about the capability of overriding Aruba Central and making changes with command line? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
The answer to that is yes, that will be going away.
Okay, we'll take a couple more here, and then we'll have to move on. But everyone, if you have additional questions, go to your iCam. We can help answer these questions, and we'd be happy to do a more in-depth demo. So I'll do two more here, Kyle, and then we can move on. Can you manage devices via CLI and Central at the same time?
No.
Okay. Can you explain network segmentation with this platform, please? Are there any micro segmentation features?
That's way too broad for me to answer, especially right now. Segmentation, I mean, Aruba, this is industry standard. So we can segment, of course, with VLANs all day long. We have VRFs, right? So now I've got VLANs for layer 3 routing. I can segment that way. I could use tunneling if you consider that a form of segmentation. So, I mean, but this is all standard stuff. These are enterprise grade switches. So the answer to the question is yes. I don't know if I'm giving you the answer that you wanted.
Okay, I think that's all we have for questions. Again, if you guys have additional questions, reach out to your ICAM. We can get you in touch with the correct SC to answer the questions.
Did you need the next slide, Austin? Or no?
Yeah, could you move to the next slide, please?
Sure.
I just have a couple closing slides here. One, I wanted to show everyone the ICAM team for the Central region. If you don't know who your ICAM is, you can reach out to, if you check this slide, it should tell you exactly what state each of us covers. If you look under Molly Remington's team, that is our team. But you guys should have an idea who your ICAM is, and that should be the person that invited you to the meeting today. If you have questions, though, reach out to me. I'm happy to help. My name's Austin Seiler. Okay, you can go to the next slide, Kyle. Just a couple of follow-up items here. So first of all, thank you guys for joining us. We really appreciate your support. We appreciate the partnership, and honestly, we can't do it without you guys. We only sell through the channel, so we rely on you heavily to help us get our product out there. I hope you found the presentation insightful and informative. But I'd like to just highlight a couple things to ensure we maximize the value of our discussion today. First, let's talk about personalized trainings. Our goal is to empower you with knowledge and skills necessary to leverage our solutions effectively. So if there are any specific areas you'd like to delve deeper into, don't hesitate to let us know. Whether it's diving into advanced features, addressing specific challenges, or if you're a sales rep and you just need a sales presentation, the ICAMs have all kinds of resources that we can get you, and we'd be happy to walk you through Central in more depth if that's what you need. Next, I want to talk about trial Central licenses. So this will allow you to experience firsthand the benefits and capabilities of Central by trying it out in your environment, and you can see how it streamlines operations, enhances visibility, and improves overall network performance. Next, for those interested in NFR or not for resale gear, we can spin up quotes for you, get you a significant discount on any Aruba hardware that you'd like to have in your network to play around with. So reach out to your ICAM if that's something you're interested in. We would love to get you a quote. Also, I wanted to mention Iris. Iris is our quoting tool, and it makes things significantly easier for your engineers. Or if you're an engineer, you should be using it. It'll save you a ton of time rather than having to go through all the data sheets and find part numbers and things like that, or go to me and Kyle to get the part numbers. You could use Iris, and it'll significantly save you time and enhance efficiency. And then last, I want to emphasize the importance of discussing cloud management and AI with your customers. So introducing them to Aruba Central can revolutionize the way they manage their network, and it offers unprecedented agility, scalability, and intelligence. So please have the conversation with your customers. If you aren't talking to your customers about AI and about the cloud and managing networks in the cloud, then your competitors probably are. AI is the future, and if customers aren't utilizing it, they're going to be behind it at some point. So thank you guys for joining. please utilize your iCams. We, as iCams, are paid on what our partners sell. So we'll do anything we possibly can to help you grow your business. No question is stupid. We're happy to help in any possible way. So please utilize us. Thank you again for your time.
One last
and we're right
thing,
there.
everyone. Sorry, so one last thing, everyone. If you want a recording or a copy of the recording of this, just reach out to your respective ICAMs and they can send it over to you.
Thank you, guys.
All right,
Thanks,
thank you
Kyle.
guys. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you guys.